Billy Glisson with PowerCore 360. In this drill, we're going to teach the athlete to jump sideways explosively. The reason we want to work on lateral explosiveness is about arm velocity. The faster we can move the hips laterally, the more body torque and rotation we'll get, hip speed, and ultimately arm speed. All right, this drill we're going to really work on lateral explosiveness with the hips and pelvis heading towards the catcher. I want him to get the weight on the instep, right instep, stay with the knee inside that foot, set down into your right hip a little bit towards me, good. And I just want him to learn to use this back hip and back leg all the way down into the ground, those muscles, and he's going to do a lateral hop. I don't want him going vertical, I want him going sideways as far as he can and as fast as he can, pushing off this right side. Go for it. Good. Land in a good safe position. Drive as far as you can, fast as you can, sit into this instep, get into your hip over here, drive it. Awesome. Go as far as you can, as fast as you can. No vertical motion, all lateral, all sideways. Nice. Two more. Find the instep in the right foot, sit into your right hip over here a little bit, get it loaded, and go. Nice. Thanks for watching this video. If you want further information, please go to PowerCore360.com. Billy Glisson with PowerCore 360. In this pitching drill, we're going to work on the balance component of pitching or throwing. Improving balance will increase stability, mechanics, and ultimately arm velocity. All right, in this first drill for pitching, we're going to work on what we call going to the balance position. I have a band hooked to my left hip, across the front of me, and to the right. If you look at my right foot, if I just relax here, and I relax all the muscles, and I get on one leg, this band is pulling my hips and pelvis in the direction of that anchor, and it's causing my foot to roll out. If I was trying to pitch this direction to the catcher, it's going to mess up my mechanics. I want my energy going this way, not that way. So to work on the muscles around the hips, and actually even on the inside of my right foot, I'm going to actually take my right foot and roll it in, keep my weight on the inside of it, and I'm going to go up into a balanced position. When I do that, what happens is the muscles around my pelvis, my hips, my core, my legs, and even into my feet have to learn to turn on and be stronger and have more endurance to improve the mechanics to be able to get into that position and hold that. So we're just simply repping with an athlete, with a pitcher going into 10 reps to strengthen and gain more endurance in those muscles. It's the first piece of actually throwing with improved mechanics, getting the lower half better engaged, and actually taking the hips and pelvis in the direction of the catcher to increase velocity. All right, so in this drill we're going to work on just going up into his balanced position. We've got a band on the front hip that's pulling him backwards, and it's really going to activate the muscles on the back side of the hip to really give him balance. Really critical that his right foot, he keeps his weight on his inside of his right foot, doesn't let it roll backwards here. I want his arms and knees to come up and work together. As you can see, a little bit of shaking going on. We're just getting some muscles on there kind of cranked up and activated. Keeping that weight on the inside, the right instep. Now naturally, because the band's hooked to the left, we're getting a little more rotation. If I want a little bit more rotation with him, I'm going to ask him to go ahead and bring your leg up, go to your balance, and actually let this rotate a little bit and start to take that left hip towards the catcher. Relax. Hi, Billy Glisson with PowerCore 360. In this drill, we're going to work on pitching mechanics, focusing on balance to stride. Working on balance to stride will improve the lateral, hip, and pelvic motion in the pitching movement. That will ultimately increase arm velocity. All right, the next drill here, we're going to work on going from the balance position to the stride position. So we've got our weight hooked up, we've got our resistance band hooked up to the left hip, over the hip height over here. I'm getting my weight on the inside of my right foot, and I'm standing up here. I'm going up into my balance position. The next piece is I want to work on going to my stride position. As I'm doing this, the resistance band is actually resisting me to go into this movement. So I have to learn to use my feet, my legs, the outside of my back hip to be able to take the pelvis down towards the catcher, right? So I'm strengthening the muscles on the hips, pelvis, back side here to go that direction. It's the second piece in pitching to improve mechanics and velocity for the lower half of the body. All right, so in this drill we're going up into the balance position, then we're striding forwards. Once again, we go up to the balance. We got to stay inside that right foot, and we're actually going to use the ground here and push off the ground to take his body straight ahead or actually downhill towards the catcher. We want to just stay really working on the linear or horizontal piece of the hips and pelvis right now going forward. So on that one, he got a little rotational when his foot hits. I just want him to really work on driving, see how far he can get out, pushing against the band, strengthening the muscles on the back side of the leg, back side of the hip, and actually even into the muscles into the feet. Want him to take his left glute and really turn it towards the catcher and keep it there as long as he can as he moves forwards towards the catcher. Upper body staying up, slightly back, not forward. Arm up into the slot. Hi, Billy Glisson with PowerCore 360. In this drill, we're going to work on balance to stride to hip turn in the throwing motion. Working on this drill will improve hip speed, body rotation, torque, and ultimately arm speed. All right, the next part of the pitching mechanics piece is we're going to go from balance to stride to hip turn. So we're going to set up, band on the left hip, out to my right side. I'm going to go up into my balance position. I'm going to go to stride. And now when I get to stride and that front foot hits, I want it to actually turn, and I'm going to turn my back hip as if there was an imaginary dot on it, and I want to turn that hip towards the catcher. At this point, my arm's up into the slot. I'm not doing anything with the arm at this point in time. And I'm just going to work on that. So I'm going to go get in a good balance position, go to stride, and then I'm working on hip turn, getting that back hip turn. As I do this, that band is resisting my back hip from turning through. So it's actually making my backside, my hamstrings, my glutes, my calves work. It's stretching the front part of my hip flexor on the front part and improving my ability to get my lower half through to the catcher. It's the third part of pitching mechanics or increasing arm velocity. All right, now we're going balance, stride, hip turn. Staying on the inside of the foot, driving off the rubber, using the ground. Taking that left glute as long as we can to the catcher. When that front stride foot hits, when it hits the ground, it's all rotational then in terms of the hips and pelvis. You want to have fast hip turn, arm up in the slot. Hold your next foot at finish. When he gets here, we're looking for stability. To get stability, we actually need to pretend that we're still doing the drill we did earlier where the ball's between the legs and we're squeezing this thigh in and that thigh in. That gives our lumbar spine, hips, and pelvis stability. That will allow pitch control to be going to the right location. If that hip goes out and that hip goes out, the body's more unstable and the pitch location isn't going to be as accurate. Okay, we're going balance, stride, hip turn. Now we got the big band on, so it's really challenging him to get his hip through. And stability-wise at his finish, he's really going to have to learn how to turn on to kick the right muscles on to hold that much better. Staying on the right foot, going up to balance, drive, show your left glute to the catcher as long as you can. That front foot hits the ground. It's about how much speed can we get from our hips turning. At that finish position, once again, hold your finish. Really important, once again, that we've got the thighs squeezing in to give us stability and control here for the body, control for where the pitch is going. One more time, full speed. That front foot hits the ground. How much rotation speed can you give me with the hips and pelvis? Nice, very good. Awesome. All right, so just going to make some easy throws. In between a lot of the drills we do, we integrate or we blend one drill in with the other, so it's actually carrying over into the skill of throwing. So for a lot of these, this first one, it's going to be just easy throws, maybe 30, 45%. We're not throwing far, maybe 30 or 40 feet. We're not working on velocity. We're just, now that we've activated and turned on some muscles, we want him to use his body in that same way using those muscles, but actually in active throwing. So this first set, 35, 40%, 30, 40 feet, 5 throws. Thanks for watching this video. If you want further information, please go to PowerCore360.com.